What is up, glisteners, listeners, and smooth transitioners? Thanks for sitting down at the Messy Desk with me this week. Today, I want to follow up on what I said last week, which is I want to do something a little different. Now, I know that's a huge surprise, me saying something and then following through with it. I'm as surprised as you are, but regardless, I have a song here in Ableton that I think is a decent example of a principle I use in my music a lot. And it's advice I give to people regularly when they ask me, how do I make my transition from an A section to a B section feel more smooth and less jarring and out of nowhere? So let's not waste any time. Let's just hop over into Ableton. You won't see my face. It'll be very scary for you. But don't worry, you'll still hear the dulcet tones of my baritone voice. And I'll make you feel safe and loved. And you won't have to think about the crushing weight of reality for like 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so let's hop in and I'll show you this track and then we can all move on with our lives. All right, let's get this shit. Okay, so here we are in Ableton. I have this project here that I have been working on for a few months, just sort of on 10-minute breaks and on my lunch at work. It sort of has two discrete sections here. It has this A section here, and then there's a little bit of transition, and then there's a B section that kind of carries out into the outro. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a little bit of the A section, and I'm going to play you a little bit of the B section. And then I'm going to talk about kind of the lead I'm burying here as to how to connect these two so that they feel a little less jarring. So let's listen to the A section really quick here. Okay, so you get the general idea. The main features are these kind of swelling reversed audio bits here. And this lead, which is using a plugin from Fours, which is called Chiral. I think it's like $20. I honestly can't recommend it enough. It is one giant sweet spot. It has very simple controls that you can just, much like the Digatone, that you can just turn like an idiot, and it'll sound really interesting and beautiful no matter which way you turn it. It's being used for the lead and for the main bass here. But anyway, it's this lead from Chiral, so let's listen to that. Very nice. Now I have this bit here, which sounds like this. There's a little simple sub bass that comes in here. Listening to those two things right next to each other, they probably sound very disparate. And look, part of the charm, I think, in this song is the fact that I do sort of switch it up, and it is sort of a sudden switch, but I didn't want it to be completely jarring, so there are some things that I did to kind of help aid along with that I have very sneakily muted here, that I will unmute, and then we can talk about exactly what's going on. So I think first it's helpful to listen to this build up here, which transitions us actually to the B section. And this is actually using a trick I learned from, I think, Andrew Huang, which is more or less, if you want to surprise your listener, extend your build-up for just a little bit longer than is conventional. So like not exactly 4 bars, not exactly 8 bars, and just keep it going a little too long and it'll feel really nice. So let's listen from this part here and we can hear what I'm talking about. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Typically, you'd expect the build-up to end right here, right where this ends. But instead, I extend it just that little bit here to, yeah, like I said, surprise the listener and kind of, it's almost like if that is surprising them, they'll be less surprised or less jarred by the very sudden change to a completely different style of music. Another thing that I do to kind of get them ready for this, though they don't know it at the beginning of the track, is I have this drum loop here, this very simple 2-step drum loop. Right? We love that. And, that plays through the kind of intro to the B section before we really fully get into it. At the beginning of the track, at the intro here, I have this little bit. So let's just listen. So even before they know that this is going to come back later, I'm sort of planting the seed in their head. Hey, look, there's a little 2-step element to this track somewhere. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how effective it is because I can't step out of my own head, but it sounds good to me and it sounds like it works. So you tell me down in the comments, does this work for you? Is this a completely jarring change? I don't know. But here is the real kind of heart of the video, the reason I'm making this video, which is a tip I have for making your B sections work with as little work as possible. I've talked in the past about resampling yourself, and you can see I have a ton of audio clips here. This is a resample of a chord change that I had made in some VST, who cares. This is the resampling of the piano, and it's reversed, which is a tip that I would give. Reverse the piano audio along with the piano MIDI, and it'll sound very nice like this. But anyway, resampling kind of goes along with this tip because you don't even really have to resample to audio. Let me unmute these things. And you can see here that a little ways into my B section, I have a copy of my lead from the A section. And let's listen to how that sounds. Very nice. This is kind of the principle I'm talking about here, which I guess I would say is reduce, reuse, recycle, basically. This lead worked really well in the intro section, and I think it works really well in this section as well, and it is kind of acts as a connective tissue between the two. And more than being just connective tissue, it acts as a second surprise, basically. And we all love seconds. I personally, my wife and I have a long-running joke that we like to have second dinner, which is, we have a dinner at 6:30. Then later it's like, maybe it's like 9:30. You're a little hungry. Get yourself a sandwich, man. Eat in bed. Get crumbs all over the bed. Be a fucking slob. Who cares, We love seconds. So, look, this not only is going to connect the A section and the B section in a minor way, it's also going to surprise your listener again because they'll be, initially surprised by this new 2-step section we have going on here. And then they'll say, okay, I get it. It's a new section, whatever. I have this loop here. Now I can just get used to it. And basically it's not new anymore after 4 bars or whatever. But when you reintroduce this lead here, that's kind of a nice surprise. It brings back, it's like a motif. It's bringing back a motif. And I kind of carry this through in a few different ways by using audio from these reversed bits here in various places. So like in the build-up here, and here, and then I also have this bit here, which is literally just this. But what I've done is a trick that I believe Jordo, who's a good friend of mine. I'll link to his music stuff down in the description because he's a much more talented musician than I am. Bug him to make Ableton tutorials or something because he's a great teacher. Showed me in Ableton, which is using the Beats algorithm of warping and quantizing and using this little mode here. Basically, every time it hits a warp marker, it's going to stop or something like that. I don't know. Someone better can explain it down in the comments. But you get this little kind of stuttery effect here. So I started with, I think, 16th notes, and then I just added some more manually. It sort of sits really subtly alongside this and just adds a little additional texture and a little flavor. Hell yeah, we love that. The last little bit of this, actually the last two things, is still incorporating this resampled audio and happens here. And this is probably my favorite part of the track, so let's listen. So yeah, I'm just using this resampled audio. And it creates this really, really nice effect, and it's a really nice interplay between this lead and the resampled bits. It just has this kind of push and pull, and it was something I kind of worked on for a long time, trying to dial in the right amount of lead, the right amount of that resampled effect to kind of achieve what I was going for. And it might still be a little messy. I don't know. Overall, I don't feel fantastic about this track, but I think it still illustrates the point that I'm trying to make here. And finally, in the outro, I fully revive this little intro loop. Right, you remember. I fully revive it here. So let's just listen to the song as it plays out. More resampling here. And that's how the song ends. I think my goal here ultimately was to have a B section, a switch up more or less, that was surprising and interesting to the listener, but didn't feel like it came completely out of left field. I think sometimes I'm guilty of this, where I will make, a minute and 30 seconds of a track and then get bored of that track and then make a new track. And that's kind of what I did in this song, but I wanted to try to find a way to connect it. And I think that a great way to do that is by resampling, not just literally resampling audio here, but also by reutilizing MIDI, reutilizing motifs, just bringing stuff back. If you listen to like classical music, they do that all the time. They're like smart music theory nerds, so they probably know what they're doing. So yeah, I highly recommend doing that. If your B section feels like it's lacking a sort of clarity or a connective tissue to your A section, if it feels completely different and you don't really like that, or if you feel like you're struggling to connect the two, try merging pieces from each with each other. Try grabbing, a drum loop section from your B section and put it in your A section in some places. Try grabbing the lead from your A section and putting it in your B section. Resample the chords or the main texture from your A section and slot it somewhere in your B section, process differently. That's all the kind of things that I'm doing here. And I think that it really makes the track better for it, because if we take out all these elements and just play the B section fully through, it just, like I said, kind of feels like a totally different song. But if you put these two things together, I think they sound quite connected and nice, and it feels like kind of a cohesive whole, and I don't know, maybe like it's telling a story or something. I don't know, man. That's kind of all I got. Really simple concept, I think. but something that can be used and abused over and over and over again to really make your tracks feel a lot more cohesive and whole. So I would highly recommend trying this. If anybody's interested, I can put these stems up on my Patreon and just give them to people. You can remix the track, take this beautiful chiral lead or these weird textures, and just do whatever the hell you want with them, man. These are just splice loops. I'm a fraud. I can't do drums, so those are just splice loops, but you can take those too if you want them, and just fucking go to town. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for me this week. I guess maybe I will hop back to the camera view and say goodbye. So let's do that. Wow, what a crazy journey that was, right? It was scary. It was new. It's still messy, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry too much about that. But it's a new thing, and I hope it was useful, and I hope it made some sort of sense. And I will be back next week with more of this kind of thing, maybe. And I'm going to keep doing it until someone cares or until no one cares. Sounds easy enough to me. I hope to see you there. I hope you'll care. And I hope you'll be scared. It's spooky season, after all. I love you so much. You're a good person. You're smart. And you're pretty cool. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't actually know you. Be honest with yourself when evaluating these things. But regardless, I'm Daniel. This is the secondary Messy Desk, and I love you more than I love getting bored of a track a minute and 30 seconds in and making an excuse to make a whole different one. I'll see you next week. Peace.